3 minutes and closing.
Good. Our first catch of the day.
We've just received word from the fleet. They've engaged the Borg.
To Endeavour. Stand by to engage at grid A15.
Client and host fall back to level within 1. Acknowledge.
We have an invisible range. A Borg cube on course 04215. Speed Borg.
All units, open fire. Remodulating shield protection. They broke through the defense perimeter. Order. Cube is gaining hold. 0, 2, 1, lost.
Reinforcement.
Custom, report coming in. 96 deep. 42 wounded on the next.
Commander Leslie on the Mandarin.
Stand by alert. Death Star approaching.
We've analysed the Borg cube attack, sir, and there is a danger. Should I have your ship standing by?
Evacuate? In our moment of triumph? I think you overestimate their chances.
Borg cube now in range.
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to you. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
Fire when ready.
Target, maximum firepower. Commence primary ignition.
Alert all commands. Deploy the fleet.
We are the Borg. Lower your shields.
Impressive. Most impressive.
Charming to the last.
No. Yes, that's it.
Listen!
Live from the forest moon of Endor, Radio Free Endor, a Star Wars podcast, bringing you news and reviews from the galaxy far, far away.
Welcome to episode 33 of Radio Free Endor. Well, it's all gone a bit quiet here on Endor now Paul has left, but it's not so quiet in the world of Star Wars. Oh no, as we have had the new trailer for the Star Wars Resistance, Carrie Fisher is back from the dead and will be in episode 9, Ryan Johnson deletes 20,000 tweets, just to be sure, and the Russians are building a real-life AT-ST. So you could say it's all going a bit mad, but to help me out is Fantatrack's Mark Newbold. Hi Mark.
Hello mate, how you doing?
I'm not too bad. It's getting a bit quiet here and lonely in the old AT-AT on Endor, but hopefully my son Chris will be popping along in the future and helping me out. But for now, you're helping me out, which is great.
Absolutely, always here to help. I like to help.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. How's it going on Fantatracks at the moment?
Yeah, it's going good. It's busy. Well, I say it's busy. You've actually nailed it. It is actually really quiet at the moment, I think, in terms of news. But when it's quiet, it gives me the chance to... Because I used to do Lightsaber and then did bits on Jedi news, it gives me a chance to go back to some old content of mine that I like to sort of spruce up and roll out again and put it in its new home. So whilst it's been quiet for news, and it is a bit of a slog to find news at times, it's also a nice opportunity to sort of tuck into some older stuff and tidy that up. So actually, funny enough, just before we started talking, I'd found the audio from an interview I did with Dennis Murin about 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And the audio, the audio came out way clearer than I ever remember. So I've just done a bit of jiggery pokery, and I think that might be rolling out on Fantatracks fairly soon. So it's just a nice opportunity to do bits and bobs like that. So it's very useful.
Yeah. I also know you're a big Star Trek fan. Now, there was a question I wanted to ask you. Now, me and my son Chris, we often, I love Star Trek. I'm passionate about Star Trek, right? And often when, like, if you've posted something about Star Trek, or a friend of mine, or Paul Bateman, he's posted about Star Trek, I often say something on the lines of, is it Prime or is it not? Do you know what I mean? Right? Yeah. And I like to have this discussion with Chris. Now, what do you think of the new casting for the new Spock?
I think I've heard him speak, and I think the voice, he can probably do a good Nimoy because he's got a slightly deeper timbre to his voice than Zachary Quinto. I don't think he looks too much like him.
Yeah.
But I can see. I think Nimoy had very unique sort of eyes. So when they sort of spocked his eyes up, with the eyeshadow and the eyes, I think I can see a resemblance there. He's got a distinct nose as well.
What's it? Isn't it? Is it Ethan Peck?
Ethan. Yeah, Gregory Peck's grandson.
Yeah, I've never heard of him.
I must have seen him in things because I looked at his resume and he's been in all sorts of stuff. And he's no spring chicken. He's in his 30s. So, but I think he's. Season 1 of Discovery was so good, and it was a grower as well. I think the first sort of half a dozen episodes were like, this is okay. I'm going to stick with it because it's Trek. And then we got just got to the mid-season break, and it's like, oh, that was pretty decent. And then all of the second half of Season 1 just got better and better and better. And then, of course, finishing with that sort of face-off between Discovery and Enterprise, it was like, oh, you've nailed it.
Well,
just nailed it.
Do you know, my heart always lifts up when I see the Enterprise. It's one of those ships that go, and I have to admit, it's a guilty pleasure thing. I do like to see a redesigned version of it, but in the films or something. Now, but when it comes to TV, and my biggest thing about this, even though I did enjoy Discovery, is there was no reason to set it as a prequel, right?
Yeah.
Because I think when you put things back, when you set things, you're going to be standing on an awful lot of toes. And Star Trek has got an awful lot of toes to stand on. And especially when you hear in the After Trek show, which I watched, they're saying, oh, our writers know exactly everything about canon, and they are 100% dedicated that everything will flow smoothly. And I sat there thinking, who's telling you these things? Because these people are clearly got no idea of canon. It really hasn't got any idea. So I literally have to keep going, no, it's not Prime Universe. It's not the Prime. It's a spin-off. Even though they have said, oh, no, this is the Prime Universe. I went, no, it's not. Right, for the simple fact is, on all the TV shows that have followed from the original TV show of Star Trek, they have shown the Enterprise as the Enterprise from the 1966, haven't they? Even into Enterprise. Do you remember the episode?
Yeah, you did, yeah. And in DS9, I mean, they did Trials and Tribulations, and it was very much and they did because I think that was a CG one of the earlier CG ones, and it looked beautiful.
Yeah.
And they gave it more. I think their justification. Well, two things. One, the very start of Season 1 Discovery was 10 years before the original series, so they've given themselves a bit of leeway in that respect. So I think maybe if the very last shot of Discovery happens to have the Enterprise in it, and it looks just like the one in the original series, then they can kind of fudge their way through that. They can do that, I think. And also, we've got like 4K ultra high, quality TVs, and their logic will be, well, on the old 60s TV, your little 14-inch black and white, you're not going to see the detail. So they can fudge it a little bit if they want to. You can give them that. And I think, like for example, the Klingons. The Klingons we saw in Season 1 Discovery, very different.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing in Season 2, very different again. So I think, and they've already lined up that I think there's 24 or 26 Klingon houses. We've only seen about 7 of them. So
now that was I did hear about that, and I thought, that's a clever way of doing it. That each house is a different looking Klingon, and I thought, all right, you've sold me on that one. You've got me.
Because it's a Klingon empire, isn't it?
Yes.
So even though the Klingons all originated on Kronos, they've spread themselves out across the galaxy. It's like the Vulcans and the Romulans, not an awful lot of difference. Vulcans probably slightly more pointed on the ears, a bit more pronounced on the eyebrows. Romulans are a little more rounded than a Vulcan's more angular, but you can tell they're the same species. It's like Nemoidians and Duros, isn't it? They split off 20,000 years ago. It was, however many generations that would be. Yeah. So there's little workarounds, but Discovery, I think I'm stoked for Season 2, and I'm totally with you. I see. It's funny. It's a parallel that didn't work until very recently. Was I always think in Star Trek, any Star Trek, doesn't matter if it's the original Enterprise, the A, not so much the B because you barely see it, but the D and the E especially, of Enterprise, she's a character. She's totally and utterly a character in that show. So in Star Trek The Motion Picture, when you had pretty much a 10-minute love affair of the camera just sweeping around the ship, as Kirk and Scotty rather, are docking on the Enterprise, when he takes command from Decker, and that whole thing in the music, Jerry Goldsmith's music, and some people are like, that's so self-indulgent, that's just all about special effects. It's like, no, you're totally missing the point. You don't get what that scene means.
Yeah.
Why are you even watching this film? That's the Enterprise. That's as important as Kirk and Spock and McCoy. And some people are like, that's so self-indulgent, that's just all about special effects. It's like, no, you're totally missing the point. You don't get what that scene means.
Yeah.
Why are you even watching this film? That's the Enterprise. That's as important as Kirk and Spock and McCoy.
Absolutely.
That's completely at the core of Star Trek. So anytime you do a sequence like that, which it clearly worked for you, seeing the Enterprise at the end of Discovery, and now we know about, now we've seen Solo, and we know that L3 is the core of the Falcon. All of a sudden, the Falcon's taken on a kind of a different persona in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Because L3 was awesome, and now we know she's part of the Falcon. Her consciousness survived to a degree, probably not by her choice. It's not what she wanted, but that's the way it went down. So it's made the Falcon more of a character now.
Yeah.
I hope they don't retcon and have hand talking to the Falcon and any silly stuff like that. I'm sure they will somewhere, but I hope they don't.
Yeah.
But the Enterprise, because she's a big boat as well, I just think it's a very important part of Star Trek.
It is, yeah. And you often hear people moan about that scene from Motion Picture, but I loved it. I was like, wow, because I'm like you. I watched Star Trek as a TV when I was a little kid on reruns, you know what I mean? And that film was great to me. I thought it was fantastic. I understood it for when it came out, and I'll hold my hands up. In Star Trek 3, when they blew it up, I roared my eyes out. Absolutely cried to bits, right? And my mum took me, she goes, "You're right." And I went, I don't think I am. Yeah. It's
funny, I always remember Star Trek 3 because Star Trek 3 was the first Trek film I saw at the cinema. I never did see Motion Picture or Wrath of Khan at the cinema, but I did see 3 and everything onwards. And that sequence, and a friend of mine had seen it not long before, because Star Trek 3 came out in 84, and obviously Jedi was 83. And I always remember my friend Jace, who used to do stuff on Lightsaber, brilliant artist, came back and said, I says, what was it like? Was it any good? And he says, it was fantastic. He says, the effects were better than Jedi. And I think he was saying it just to push my buttons, because he knew that I was like a Star Wars guy all the way, full on. Loved Trek, but then it was all Star Wars.
My lord, the ship appears to be deserted.
How can that be? They're hiding.
Yes, sir. But the bridge seems to be run by computer. It is the only thing speaking.
Speaking? Let me hear.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
Get out!
3,
Get out of there! Get out!
1.
What have I done?
What you had to do.
What you always do. Turn death into a fighting chance to live.
Planet core readings. Unstable. Changing rapidly. What about surface life science?
And it's funny at the time when I saw it, it's like, no, it's not better than Jedi. And it isn't, because it's totally different way of presenting the effect. But Star Trek 3 has got some gorgeous stuff in it. When you see the Excelsior for the first time, and you know, there's a beautiful ship. You know, so many cool things in that film. But yeah, that sequence when Kirk does his thing, and again, it's one of those films which the script is so good. There's so many memorable lines in that script. McCoy is the one guy, DeForest Kelley, I wish above all other people, anyone in any genre, any film, he was the one guy I would love to have met or seen at a convention, DeForest Kelley.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. How he did McCoy and Spock, his version of Spock, was just flawless. I was like, it was just so good. Well, you know, I could talk Star Trek all day with you. I really could. But I do hope that, you know, they do swing it sort of back into what we know. And of course, with the news that old Murfield boy, Patrick Stewart, who was born just down the road, he's coming back. I can't believe it.
I was beyond thrilled about that. When I heard, I knew. I mean, rumours were flying around. You know, they're talking about doing a Wrath Khan sort of mini-series, a Khan mini-series, and an animated show. And then they sort of collared Patrick outside of a screening or something the other day. And somebody said, have you seen Discovery? And he said, no, but I may soon have reason to watch it. And so everybody was on high alert. It was like, hang on, is he coming in Discovery as a guest? Are they doing a time travel episode or what? Now we know why he was watching it. He wanted to get a feel for what modern Trek is like, you know.
Yeah.
But what is he, 78 now?
Yeah.
In fact, when it was his birthday back in July, I wrote an article on StarTrek.com for his birthday. I've got to tell you this. This tells you the importance of editors. So I wrote the article and posted it, and then about 20 minutes after posting it, realised that I'd written that it was his 77th birthday, but it wasn't. It was his 78th. And thank goodness the editor noticed it and tweaked it in time, because that would have gone down well, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Happy 77th birthday. It wasn't his birthday. He was a year older. I'm sure he would have liked to have been 77. But yeah, I think that'll be phenomenal, because you've got all the other guys as well. You've got all the next gen crowd. But beyond that, you've got all the Voyager actors and all the DS9 actors. So I think Destination Star Trek in October at the NEC is going to be phenomenal, because I think everyone's going to be just buzzing.
Yeah, everyone will be expecting some kind of teaser or some kind of announcements, as in, this is who else is coming in. This is who else is coming in. There's one thing I always wanted to see. I wanted to see a William Riker on the Titan.
Yes.
I always wanted to see that. And I thought, but the interesting bit for me is what they're going to do. Will they bring Data back? Because when he died, I was like, but they sneaked that bit in, didn't they? That his conscience had actually transferred.
Yeah.
Well done. Wasn't Star Trek Nemesis the first film that Tom Hardy was in?
It was. Two things I know about Nemesis. Well, I know a few bits about Nemesis, but I know the director made a horrible hash of it. Yeah, I think it was his first on-screen performance, and he was. It's funny looking back when you see what a powerhouse he can be now, Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
When you look back at him then, with the fake Picard nose and all that, And it's funny. I was thinking when in fact I was saying this to Paul Bateman the other day. I think when they cast Alden Ehrenreich, and they cast him very, very well. I've got to think at some juncture they must have tried a prosthetic nose, because Harrison has got a distinctive, or rather I should say Han Solo has a distinctive look about him, and part of it is the schnoz, the nose. It's a distinctive part of his facial features. It makes him look unique, and Adam Driver's very much the same. And I just wonder if there's footage somewhere where they thought, let's give it a go, let's try Alden with with the Han Solo nose. Let's see if it looks right. Maybe they just went, nah, just leave it. It doesn't matter. Because Alden's got like a little button nose, hasn't he?
Yes, he has.
And Harrison is like the complete opposite. So he's like Triple H nose.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for all the stuff that's coming. There's Star Wars and Star Trek. There's just so much cool stuff coming.
Yeah, true. Now, let's get off Star Trek now.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Right. Let's go into this Star Wars Resistance trailer. Now, I was actually on holiday when it dropped, and I watched it, and I was thinking, it kind of looks like an Xbox game. The animation shell shaded old game from 10 years ago, and I thought that's a bit strange. So I watched it, and I thought, well, it's not too bad. It's not giving me the initial like the trailer they dropped for Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And so I went on to the Disney YouTube channel to have a look at it, and it's had 10,000 up likes. Yeah. Can you guess how many down likes it's had?
Let me try and do some quick maths in my head, because the last time I looked, it was 6,000 likes and 15,000 dislikes. So it's pretty. I don't know, 20,000. I don't know. I'm trying to work out the averages, but it's going to be something horrendous. I'm sure it is.
65,000 dislikes.
No way.
Yeah, looking at it right now. 10k up, 65 down.
That's awful.
Isn't it?
That's awful. It's not that bad. No. I mean, it is. I was saying this to some of the lads on the site the other day. The thing about Star Wars now in 2018, I had to think about what year it was, 2018.
Yeah.
We're 6 years into the Disney era now. So Star Wars has gone from being a brand that in the 90s it wasn't just readily available. You had to go and look for it. You'd have to order stuff online or from shops or whatever. It was a marquee brand. If it had Star Wars on it, it was quality. It was top of the line. It wasn't. You couldn't get Star Wars anywhere. Now we're in an era when you can buy brand new Star Wars stuff at B&M. Star Wars is from the lowest, your Poundland right up to your Royal Selangor, right to the top, and everything in between.
Yeah.
So I think you look at something like the Clone Wars, and you think the Clone Wars that's primo. That's George put a lot of money into that. There was a lot of R&D, a lot of heart, a lot of thought. And Clone Wars is coming back, and to me, the animation style looks like it's like a halfway house between Rebels and the old Clone Wars. That works for me. That looks good. Rebels was what Rebels was, and the animation on that increased and got better every season as Clone Wars did. And you look at Resistance, and you think, well, Resistance, the way it's done, the style they've chosen. Season 1 of Resistance and Season 3, because I can't see that. Apparently, Resistance is only set 6 months before The Force Awakens, so they're not going to be able to fit that many seasons in, I don't think. So, unless they go beyond The Force Awakens, there's no reason why they can't go beyond The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
But, let's say they do 3 or 4 years of that. I would imagine Season 4, let's say, of Resistance will look exactly the same as Season 1 because of the animation style they've chosen, to your point, really. Yeah, it looks fine. It's if Clone Wars is Sky 1, then this is Channel 5.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Now, this is a kids show, yeah? Right. So why is it premiering premieres on Sunday, October the 7th at 10 p.m. 10 p.m.
Yeah.
That's a bit strange.
That's a very strange. It's
Most
really
kids are
strange.
in bed.
You'd think. I don't know. I mean, and I think it's debuting on Disney Channel, and then it goes to XD like Rebels did, I think. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, thing is, they can be as coy as they want. They can say, "Oh, this Star Wars is pitched at Forces of Destiny. This Star Wars is pitched at girls," but they know everyone's going to watch it. Yeah. Oh, this Star Wars is pitched at kids. Yeah, but everyone's going to watch it. So it's because it's Star Wars. We're going to at least be curious.
Yeah.
I think the difference these days is that back in the day, if a Star Wars, let's say 10 years ago, when Clone Wars launched, and a new Star Wars thing comes on, and all we've had is we've had 6 movies, and they've all been pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then a Star Wars TV show comes on. They know that you're going to watch it, and you're going to watch it again, and you're going to watch.
It's true.
Now there's so much, but there's so much content coming now. You've got Resistance. There'll be other animated shows in the next year or two because they've got to pack out their streaming service. You've got the live action stuff. You've got movies coming regularly. I think original Star Wars, I stopped counting after 120 viewings, so I'm way beyond that now. Way beyond. Empire's my favourite film ever, so Empire's way over 100. Jedi probably the same. Phantom Menace, I'm more into Phantom Menace now than I've ever been. It's not. I shouldn't say it's a guilty pleasure. That's not the right phrase at all, because it's an awesome film. But I'd get more and more out of that film the more I watch it. So Phantom, I've probably seen 50 plus times. My point being, I've seen Force Awakens probably 14, 15 times. Rogue One about the same. I can't imagine ever seeing either of those films more than 30, 40 times. Do you know what I'm getting at? So, because there's so much more content now. You know, we were spoilt in a way. And this probably sounds completely counterintuitive. I think we were spoilt because we had the 3-year gap between the films, because we got to know Star Wars Empire and Jedi so well. And even when we got them on video, you know, and watched them at home, they're more readily available. But I never had a video player in my living room. I had to wait till Mum and Dad were out of the way so I could watch it at home. You're right.
It's
a different thing. It was a different thing. Whereas now you can watch it on your phone. You know, but because it's so readily available, it's, you know what it's like. You know when your favourite record comes on the radio and you stop it, you to listen to it on the radio. Yeah. But you've got it on your Walkman. You could stop it. You could listen to it right now if you wanted to. But it's like, yeah, but I can pause it on the Walkman. I've got control over it on the Walkman. I've got no control over it on the radio. So it's got my attention because it's not in my power.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm getting at? It's always more interesting to hear your favourite song on the radio. So I think it's kind of that logic. It's a weird logic, but I think we just got to know the original trilogy and the prequels to a degree.
Yeah.
Better than we'll ever know this trilogy, because as soon as Episode 9's out, we've got the 2 Game of Thrones film, the film from those guys. But apparently, if it happens, we've got another Ryan trilogy, and then they're going to announce. They won't announce. I don't think you'll get a 10, 11, and 12, but they'll announce the next standalone, the Kenobi, or you know, there's rumours of other bits and bobs floating around. You know.
Do you know when you say about the Phantom Menace? Now, I've always loved the Phantom Menace, always loved it, and especially because that was the first film where I logged on to see that very first trailer. You remember that very first trailer? The very first trailer. And I set my internet to watch it, and I went bed, got up, went work, come back, and it only just got to the end of downloading 3 minutes worth of video. Yeah. And I watched it, and I was like, yeah, God, it was the best thing ever. And it was one of the last films I ever had on, let's just say, Pirate VHS.
Yeah.
Somebody got me a copy of it, and I was like, wow.
Yeah. I've got a copy of it somewhere. I've got a copy of Phantom, and I've got a copy of the holiday special, proper old pirate videos.
Yeah.
My guilty secret is that the first time I ever saw Return of the Jedi was on pirate video.
Same here.
That terrible. A friend of mine, his dad worked in Saudi, and he brought it back from Saudi, and it was a really ropey. You can see the heads bobbing at the bottom of the screen, sort of copy of Jedi. But yeah.
Do you know what, Mark? I think we've got the same copy, because my dad, he used to go out driving all over the country, and he brought me back a VHS copy of Return of the Jedi. And I was like, he says, I've got you this, and I was like, what is it? And he goes, I think it's that Star Wars film you wanted. So I look at the title, and I was like, oh my God! And then I had to think, do I really want to play it? Ooh, I ended up doing it. Yeah.
But don't you think though? I mean, kids grow up so much quicker now. But I think, well, how old was I when Jedi came out? I was 12. So I was 12. I wasn't like a tiny kid. I was 12. But how gullible! I used to put that film on, and I was convinced that somebody would knock on. As soon as I put it on, it was like The Ring. You know, someone's going to knock on the door and say, "You shouldn't be watching that. What? You're going to get arrested." You know. So I was petrified of watching the damn thing. So
yeah. So I think we both had the same copy of Return of the Jedi. Yeah. Now there was something else I was going to speak to you about. The Rian Johnson suddenly deleting 20,000 tweets. What's all that about?
He must have written some terrible things.
Well, to be fair, I remember a couple of years ago when he first got the gig to do this new Star Wars, to do The Last Jedi. Of course, tweets that he had said about George Lucas back in the day popped up, and I read them. And I was thinking, and they are pretty bad, what he said about George Lucas, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? And then for him to get the gig, I thought, well, I hope you do a better job than him, mate. You know what I mean? You've literally put yourself on the spot of saying that George Lucas, was not that much of a good director because of the prequels, and then he makes The Last Jedi, right? And then it deletes 20,000 texts. I think it's a bit late, mate.
It is a bit. I mean, I suppose he's protecting himself after the whole James Gunn thing. I don't know. I think Ryan comes over. Everyone says what a nice guy he is, but there's also an element of that passive aggressiveness about him because he can really bite quite hard. So I don't know. I suppose anybody in the business now has got to be thinking, God, what did I say? I felt bad for James Gunn because not condoning the tone or the topic of the jokes that he said, but people went back digging, found the stuff that he'd written. Yeah, it was questionable content, but comedians, it's a shot in the dark. What's going to hit and what's going to miss? And you think back to the Bill Hickses of this world. You think they wouldn't have a chance these days. They just wouldn't be allowed to say half of what they said. Richard Pryor, any of those guys, they'd have no chance. Yeah. So because people are so touchy and easily offended these days. So I felt bad for James Gunn because Disney hired him. They should have done their due diligence a long time ago. Yeah. So I felt bad for the guy, even though not condoning the tone or topic of what he was making jokes about. But comedians are allowed to make jokes about stuff. Nothing should be taboo. Nothing at all should be taboo. Yeah. I don't think.
I think Disney were a bit quick off the mark for it, considering that these tweets had surfaced some time ago, and he went on on the apology trail then and apologised for him, and it seemed okay for Disney to go, yeah, okay, fair enough, let's move on. And he did make 2 really successful films, right, and now they've literally had to put Guardians of the Galaxy 3 back, and you've even got what's his name, who plays Drax,
Dave Bautista.
He's proper in Gunn's corner, and he said he don't really want to do the film if James Gunn ain't doing it. I don't blame him.
No,
because Dave's no The Rock, is he? Because I bet you if
he's a bit older than The Rock, and I think they're related actually. But there's
if he was The Rock and said I ain't going to do it unless you get James Gunn, you could bet your bottom dollar James Gunn would be on that. You'd be hired.
That's the surest bet in Hollywood was if The Rock said do it, it would be done.
Yeah,
definitely.
I just thought, just bring him back for one more film. Whoever steps into them shoes is going to feel uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I think that they've got 3 good options. They've got Taika Waititi, who did Thor. They've got Scott Derrickson, who did Doctor Strange, and the name of the director who just did Ant-Man has dropped out of my head, but they've got him as well. So Marvel have got 3 guys who could feasibly step in and do a Guardians 3, and apparently they're going to stick with James Gunn's script, and so obviously they're still finessing it, so there'll be tweaks and such. But I think the big loss for Disney, and I think they've been foolish, is that James Gunn was consulting on Phase 4, which is the cosmic phase. Yeah. So you're going to see a lot more. You got the Eternals coming up and stuff like that, and obviously they've just bought Fox. They're not going to fold in the Fantastic Four or the X-Men for a good long while yet. They want to get the current slate finished, which makes sense. But Gunn has clearly got the eye for that cosmic stuff. So I think they're going to hurt. It's going to hurt them. Definitely. And I tell you what's going to happen. I can see it happening. DC are going to snap up James Gunn and say, well, come and do for us what you did for them, and he'll do it.
Absolutely. I thought that because he's already said there's people banging on his door to do films. We'll work with him, no problem. So, I think Disney, especially how it was from a guy that, because I hate all this left, right crap, right? But this guy was out to get him, and he's been out to get a couple of people. And he just dug and dug and dug and dug until he found something. I'm sorry, but if you dig on anybody in this world, and they could be the nicest people on earth, you're going to find something. I bet you if Gandhi was tweeting, they would find something bad to get Gandhi kicked off. You know what I mean?
Oh, sorry, you just reminded me of something. But yes, I think I'd love to see Gandhi's Twitter feed. I bet that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's totally
stone
right.
in slipper who hurt like hell.
Oh dear. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, yeah, you can get dirt on anyone, can't you? Whatever angle you're coming at it from. But I think they're going to regret that. I really do. And yeah, like I say, I think they'd found a rare kind of talent there with James Gunn, because I think the first. I mean, I love the second Guardians. There's nothing in it for me, but that first Guardians, I felt something for that film. I haven't felt since the original Star Wars. I cared about every character. It looked amazing. I loved the design. I loved the humour. Everything about that film. Just everything about the first Guardians. You know, I dare say, thinking on it now, because I mean, how many Marvels? 20 Marvel films now.
Yeah.
You know, it's just crazy. When you think about what's your favourite Marvel film? Well, like Winter Soldier's right up there. Civil War's right up there.
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok's actually pretty high. But I think if I had to pick one, if somebody said you can only pick one, which one are you going to pick? I'd probably go, Guardians. The first Guardians would probably be my favourite one. So he did something very special there.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to regret it. This is from the company that released Song of the South and then re-released it. They're in no position to have a dig about.
Didn't they? You can't get Song of the South now, can you? You can't find it anywhere.
Pretty much banned. It's like trying to get copies of Love Thy Neighbour. It's not going to happen.
Can we just have the Song of the South with episodes of Love Thy Neighbour delivered, please, in the General Lee car?
Yeah, on an old VHS shonky copy,
Betamax.
taped over Return of the Jedi. Yeah. Betamax, there you go.
Yeah, my God, it's what a strange time we are. It's a good time to be a Star Wars fan, but what a weird, strange time as well. You know what I mean?
It is.
So many things.
It is.
I feel really sorry for these comedians that they cannot literally say stuff that me and you thought was extremely funny back in the day. Do you know what I mean? And we thought nothing of it. You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah, I mean, and I had coloured friends and Asian friends when I was at school, and we all laughed together. Do you know what I mean?
This is it. Don't you think, though, the concept of banter has gone out the window?
Yeah.
Because we all said, I mean, kids push boundaries. Kids say things and do things they shouldn't say. I know I did. Said things that now I'd go, God, Mark, why don't say that? But I don't think. I think back and I think I didn't mean anything malicious by it. I don't think I understood half of what I was saying, because it was just like I'd probably heard it on the young ones or something. So you just said it.
Yeah.
You get your wires crossed on things. It's not done out of malice. You weren't saying things out of malice. But now people kind of attach intent to everything that you say. You can't be the policeman for everything you say, especially when you're forming your worldview, if that makes sense. And some people have got their worldview in place when they're 15. Some people haven't got their worldview really in place till they're 30. You can't judge people. So you're right. I think it is a shame that you've got to censor everything you say.
Yeah. A couple of days ago, Star Wars actress Kelly Marie Tran, she actually she put out a statement, didn't she, about what's been happening, to how she feels about being cast in Star Wars, as well as being an Asian actress, actress. What was it? Actress? I don't know. Right?
I'm never sure. I sometimes say actress, sometimes say actress. I know it's tricky, isn't it? Yeah.
I read it and I could understand where she's coming from it, but I still feel it doesn't matter who they hired. She's just doing a part that somebody wrote. Do you know what I mean? And she did it quite well. Do you know what I mean? And but everyone's like, oh, she's Asian. Oh my gosh, she's. And I was thinking, oh, get over it, mate. Look at us when we was kids, Mark. We had Ripley, right? Ripley was a kick-ass woman, a strong woman, and my God, in Aliens, and every single other Alien film.
Sarah Connor in Terminator.
Sarah Connor, fantastic. All these strong female action heroes back in the day. No one thought anything of it. You know what I mean? Everyone just took it, but now it's an issue. You know what I mean? Now it's got to be a thing.
And I'm sure you've probably picked up the same. That the kind of perceived impression or the way that people view it now, that the fangirl, inverted commas, the fangirl is like a new thing, and it's like, no, we've already talked about Star Trek. I'll give you a great example though. When Star Trek was cancelled in '68 after season 2, it was a fan-led or fan-formed letter campaign to NBC that brought Star Trek back, that was led by a lady called B. Jo Trimble, and she was the one that saved Star Trek, and she's still around. She's in her 80s now. She's still around. And in the 70s, when they started off the conventions, the core group of the people who got that first Star Trek convention going in New York, they expected like 400 people and 3,000 people turned up. It was all women. So fandom, especially Trek fandom, which is kind of the core of all fandoms, I would say, really. I know you had the World Science Fiction Convention before that, way back to the 40s, Worldcon and all that, But Trek conventions in the 70s, that's when it really kind of hit the stratosphere. All led by women, so female fans is not a new thing. By the same token, misogyny is not a new thing. Gatekeeping's not a new thing. We're just more informed about what it means, and I think it's good to have the discussion. But the thought of female fans being a new thing, I find kind of laughable, because it's like, that's so unfair to all the female fans, women who've been into Star Wars, Star Trek, and science fiction, comics, everything else for decades, and not just got on with it, and being a fan. I know I've got loads, and have for years. I've gone to conventions with women for years and years and years. Thought nothing of it.
Yep, same here. Yet now, when you read anything, it's like, it has. Even though I enjoyed Star Wars, it was a problem for me because I was again. And I was thinking, really? I think somewhere along the lines, these people are jumping on a bandwagon where they shouldn't really. Because to me, we're all equal, boy, girl, whatever you are. You know what I mean? If you enjoy a fandom, it could be anything, right? It doesn't matter who you are. You're just enjoying it.
Yeah.
Perhaps I'm old school on this one, Mark. I hate it that at some point when during the Solo press tour, they were trying to push to say, what kind of sexuality is Lando? Well, why do we need to know? I mean, I don't need to know. And bless them, the writers of they're put on the spot so that you have to immediately come out with something, or because they want to think, oh my god, I mean, it's one of those dreaded questions. I would, to be in that spotlight now. Mark,
it's tough. It's a tough spot. It's a tough spot. It is. It's a tough thing in general. All I think is that for, like I say, 41 years now, Star Wars has been around, and there's been female fans of Star Wars since day one. And to me, it's a bit like somebody saying, I've met this girl, she's wonderful, she's the perfect girl for me, but I wanted to do this and I wanted to do that and I wanted to change this. And it's like, why do you love someone? Why would you love someone and then want them to change? Why would you love Star Wars and then want to change it? It's like, why would you want to change it if you love it? So I think, and we all, I think representation is important, because in Star Wars, more than, again, Star Wars and Star Trek, two of the most cosmopolitan platforms for stories in all of writing. You walk into the cantina, and there's a monkey stood next to an insect, stood next to a woman, stood next to a dog, and it's like, and they've all got stories, so we can all tell stories. But what I don't like about Star Wars sometimes at the moment is that I think, I'm sorry to keep talking about Star Trek, but the thing about Trek is that it's positing what our future will be. So it's very relevant to tell a 24th century story about equality or race or sexuality or whatever you want to tell. But it isn't in Star Wars. Star Wars is a long time ago, a long way away. Star Wars has got literally nothing to do with the world today. Absolutely nothing. So when they put colloquialisms like in The Last Jedi, we've got to do something about that big ass door. What? Or Godspeed Rebels, and it's all these Earth phrases. Like, okay, I'm not. You get your animal mentions. I get that, because you've had that since. It's almost like an in joke when they mention, ducks and dogs and cats and all that stuff. But now it smacks of lazy writing when they it's a crystal fox, or it's a wolf, or it's a loth cat, or really? Come on. It just seems lazy to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we do sound like two grumpy old men tonight, don't we?
yeah. But it's like, I think we're talking sense here, Mark. I really do. But thinking about it, because what the listeners will hear from the second part of the interview with Paul Bateman is, for one, he did not like The Last Jedi, right? He didn't like The Last Jedi. And I was going over the audio again from him and listening, and I started thinking about The Last Jedi again myself, and it's not one of the films I would immediately reach for. And I was thinking, with Rian Johnson, at the beginning, because sometimes I like to go back and see interviews of just prior to them being, especially at celebrations, when everyone was like, oh, I can't, because, you know, Rian Johnson at the time had done Looper, and everyone was like, can't believe this guy's got Star Wars, it's going to be great. Yeah. And then fast forward a year or so and find out what's happened. And you think, initially, didn't they say that, was it just before The Last Jedi was released, that they said Rian Johnson was going to be doing this whole new trilogy, right?
I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was, yeah.
Do you honestly think, after everything that's gone on, and especially how JJ has got to sort of like retool Episode 9 to get it back on track? Because surely Disney are not deaf to the way people have said, you know, about The Last Jedi. He's got to twist it, turn it, literally retcon it back to The Force Awakens, to all the stuff that he introduced in The Force Awakens that was jettisoned in The Last Jedi, to bring it back, to finish it. Do you think Disney will then say, Ryan, oh yeah, go on, there you go, do another trilogy, go on, we'll give you the cash for it? Something tells me, you know, I don't think they will. I think he will slowly sort of like be exited through the gift shop. Do you know what I mean?
That's a good way of putting it. It's a good way. It wouldn't surprise me if at one of these shareholder meetings it was just very quietly announced. Lucasfilm got this funny habit of doubling things up in press releases. So if you remember the press release for the purchase of Disney back in 2012, in that same press release they all said, and by the way, we're also making 7, 8, and 9. It's like that was the movie news of the year, and it was the second bullet point on a press release. You know what I mean? So Disney have got a nice, smart way of kind of hiding news within bigger news. It wouldn't surprise me if this, you know, if there was some sort of Ryan's decided he's going to do something else, or we've parted ways creatively. I think they are in pre-production on it, certainly, but yeah, I think if that trilogy had been announced or hadn't been announced before The Last Jedi came out, and the fan reaction being what it was, and it you know, I mean, the I mean, I mentioned Brexit before we started talking, nightmare topic, but you know, you've got your for and you're against, and the people who are against think the people who are for are completely nuts, and vice versa. And I think with The Last Jedi, the people who don't like it really don't like it. The people that love it are passionate about it and think that it's a tiny minority that doesn't like it, that are just shouting very loud. In my experience, it's really very, very 50-50. I don't know hardly anyone who is ambivalent about the film. They either love it or they dislike it. And it really is a Marmite film. And when you read pieces from Ryan saying, I'm a provocateur, I like to get people, I want half of the audience to dislike my films, and I look at that quote and think, and it ties into the James Gunn argument of, Disney, didn't you do your due diligence and check his Twitter feed? Disney, didn't you listen to any of Rian Johnson's previous interviews when he says, I want half the audience to hate my film, and George Lucas sucks, you know, and give the guy the keys to the biggest franchise in movie history. And it did perfectly well at the box office. You know, it's not now, it's dropped out, but it was in the all-time top 10. So money-wise, it did great. But you just think that's a very odd. What is the reasoning for that? Nothing. I think as a director, I think he's got a perfect eye. I really think his eye as a director, visual director, was just bang on. I loved his visual work and the way he directed it. He got some stunning performances out of the cast, specifically absolutely. Carrie and Adam Driver. Adam Driver stole the film. I thought he was phenomenal. And I don't think I've ever said this on a podcast before. The film didn't work for me. It didn't do it for me. And so, but for me, I've not chewed my pillow at night freaking out about it. I was ready for Solo by the time I'd got home from seeing The Last Jedi. And I turned my attention to Solo. I'm really looking forward to Solo. And for me, when that came out, that was like, now that was the dogs. That worked for me. That made me more than happy enough to think, okay, Last Jedi was season 4 of Dallas. You know, and episode 9 will be Bobby coming out the shower, and I can get my hat on that. You know, I think JJ is going to knock it out of the park. I don't know if pictures are leaking online of little snippets from 9, and Yeah, I think 9's going to be something very, very special. I really hope it is, because I love Force Awakens. It was an easy watch. It was Episode 4 remade. We all know it.
Yeah,
you can deny it, but it was. We all know it. It was different enough that, you know, it had enough differences that it can get away with it. But it was a soft reboot. But Episode 8 was no Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, God, yeah. The Force Awakens being like a soft reboot, there were no need to do a soft reboot. You know what I mean? There was no need, because Star Wars is a different entity compared to everything. Like, even Star Trek doesn't need a reboot. So I keep thinking, why do you keep trying to reboot it? It's not Spider-Man. You know what I mean? It's Star Trek. People know about Star Trek. You know what I mean? People know about Star Wars. No reboot needed, right? Yeah. No. They still went down the road, and
Batman
of course
keeps doing it.
God, yeah. But you know, it's bound to make money for the simple fact is people like you and me will go and see it, even though we come back and go, oh gosh, crap. Yeah, I still went back and I saw it again and went, yeah, it was a bit crap. You know what I mean? But Solo, I saw Solo 3 times and I loved it. I pre-ordered it, but I tell you what, I was going to get into some proper news, Mark. Star Wars Episode 9, the photo leaks show the Falcon in what park is it?
Oh, it's Black Park, isn't it?
Black Park in Pinewood Studios, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say to you, is making Star Wars like the Star Wars version of TMZ? Because they seem to be getting in before TMZ ever gets in. Do you know what I mean?
They do. I think they've got some friends. I do know that way back when I was still doing Jedi News, we were offered all sorts of pictures and images and stuff from the Force Awakens set, and we said no, and they eventually ended up in other places at other websites.
Yeah.
So and I know I don't know who is taking these pictures, and we sort of said thank you, no thank you, so they don't contact us anymore, and that's fine. But yeah, I think it's either somebody who lives very nearby, or it might even be somebody who works on the films. I honestly don't know. But Jason over at Making Star Wars, that's his thing. He does it well. I think they do a good job. They play a dangerous game. I've got to say, I wouldn't have the nerve to post the stuff that they post, but then he does great analysis. So I think his analysis is incisive enough that he can get away with it. But
yeah, I wouldn't want Lucasfilm or Disney knocking on my door. Oh no!
Well, it's funny. We had a phone call. I mentioned this the other day to somebody. We had a phone call. I had a phone call about 6 weeks ago from Lucasfilm PR. I thought, what's this? And my initial Catholic guilt for a guy who's not Catholic, that's typical me, thinking, what have I done wrong? So I took the phone call, and it was perfectly nice. And it was, hey Mark, how you doing? And how's it going? How's the new site going? And we're all loving the I'm like, you're loving the site, really? Oh yeah. Brilliant. Nice to know people are paying attention.
Yeah.
And then it says, and this was just after we'd posted the Billy D news, which of course got officially announced about 4 weeks after we posted it on Fantha.
Yeah.
And then the Hollywood Reporter stole it and tried to make out like it was their exclusive, and then they got called out by loads of people, which was kind of funny. And he says, next time you post anything juicy, would you just mind giving us a heads up, because, you know, just out of courtesy in case we've got something planned. And you know, yeah, absolutely. You know, not that we do that very often anyway.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's all about playing the game and being polite and being, you know, friendly and helpful. So they've always been great to me. They've always helped me with interviews, and hopefully I've not rocked the boat too much. So yeah, it is interesting when you start seeing these pictures. You know, it's all coming in. It's coming in fast, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Do you know the other bit that I saw in the news? Because I like to do the way I look at news, Mark, is I just go into Google and put Star Wars news, and it brings up the top ones. And the very top one came on, I think it's on a website called space.com a day ago, and it's a new Star Wars Empire Strikes Back Lego set. Have you seen it?
Is this the Cloud City one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks mad. Do you know what it reminds me of? That old Palitoy Death Star set.
Yes.
You know,
it's got that about it, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I looked at it and went, oh. You know, and I only just been to the Lego shop down in Leeds, and I saw the Hogwarts, the miniature Hogwarts, and that was like £300. I was thinking, ooh, Daddy needs one of them. Ooh, and now seeing this, I went, ooh, now Daddy really wants that. Oh yes, but it looks proper.
It's got
epic.
a lot going on, hasn't it?
Yeah,
yeah. There's a lot going on in there. Yeah.
I don't know if it comes with a slave one, but it's got a slave one. It's got a carbonite chamber. It's got the lightsaber duel. It's also got the dinner that they have with Darth Vader. It has a corridor, but there's another section at the back which I've had a look, and I can't seem to see a photo of it of the set, but it could be an extension to the Vader Luke fight.
Yeah,
but it looks proper epic. They proper dropped this. I didn't even know it was going around, Yeah. I really want it. It's even got a miniature little Cloud City Lego bit that you plug in, like a model of it inside the kit.
And it's got the Twin Pod Cloud car as well.
Yeah. It looks absolutely mint. Now, I'd like to see if there's any exclusive figures that come with it that are especially made for this one. Because I do notice in the photos you've got two versions of Leia in it. One where she's wearing that dress, and that could be an exclusive figure. Because I don't think they brought that. I can't see they've brought that figure out in any other actual set. But the other one where she's dressed as in the white suit from Empire, I'm sure that's out. I'm sure I've seen that as a minifigure. But I love the little carbonite. I love the little Han Solo in carbonite little Lego thing. I think that's absolutely special. And this is retailing for, this is in dollars, so I'm not too sure how much is in pounds, but it's $349.99. And it's going to be...
It'll probably be 349 quid. They'll probably just do pounds a dollar.
Do you know, they have a habit of doing that, don't they? Right, and it's coming out on October the 1st. So if you go to the States, pick it up there, because it'll be cheaper.
It will.
It will, yeah. It will be cheaper, won't it? Yeah, definitely one for the collectors. That is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another bit that came up on the news. Now, this is going to be a bit spoilery, Mark. Are you okay to handle spoilers?
I'm okay. I can take spoilers.
Okay, right. They reckon there's an episode 9 rumor revealed, a shocking return of iconic villain. Can you probably think who it is? An epic.
Oh, I don't know.
An epic, iconic villain. Can you think who it is? Iconic villain, epic. Epic, iconic villain.
Oh, I don't know. Don't know. Wouldn't be Anakin, would it?
Well, yeah, close. Yeah. yeah, right. Because the picture that I saw, this thing, it had 4 suspects on it: Jabba the Hutt, Vader, Maul, and Vet. And I was thinking, well, it's not Maul because they're getting him sort of keyed up for a Solo sequel, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. And Jabba, nah. If anything, he'd be in the next Solo film. In fact, Jabba, Maul, and Vet, I would say money on them, they would be in the next Solo film. So it'll have to be Vader. Now, they reckon there's going to be a scene featuring Kylo Ren is looking out of a window, and in the reflection, you're going to see Anakin or Vader. Sort of, it's going to be like half and half sort of thing of Vader and Anakin. The way I picture it, it's going to be something like the Mortis trilogy. Do you remember that scene in the Clone Wars where you saw the helmet in the sort of the smoke? I think, wasn't it? You saw Anakin's, and then it sort of changed to the smoke, changed to Vader's helmet. I reckon it could be something like that.
Yeah.
But there again, it's so early doors. This is the sort of thing that fans want.
Nothing would surprise me. He's got to throw the kitchen sink at episode 9. So people would be saying about like a Force Jedi Council, so like Yoda, Qui-Gon, Anakin, Ben. Luke, they'll all be on there.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they play it.
Yeah, it would be. They've announced Mark Hamill is definitely in it. They didn't keep his name away. No. And he's even grown his beard back. I noticed that there was a photo and he posted on his, I think it was on Instagram or Twitter, one of them. It's like, because Mark Hamill, he always posts something either about Trump or about his beard. And it was about his beard. Right? I'm like everyone else, please don't be dead. Please don't be dead, and I'm hoping that he will turn that around this time. Would it be good if, and me and Paul Bateman go into this about different scenarios, but wouldn't it be good if the film started with Luke waking up somewhere? In Rebels is a perfect, that time traveling gate world.
Yeah.
Imagine if he had fallen through, or somebody had grabbed him and pulled him through. Yeah. And that would explain why his hand went with him.
Interesting. Yes.
Because only his cloak fell, not his hand, and his hand was synthetic. But technically, wouldn't that have just gone doink? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Doink.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think if he can force project himself from Acto, which is like way out in the middle of nowhere, all across the crate in real time across the galaxy, and do what he did, then I don't think there's any reason why he couldn't have transported himself from Acto to somewhere else. Or another twist potentially is that all along Luke's been sitting in Ben's hut on Tatooine, and he has been force projecting himself to Acto, honing his powers, and he's alive and well on Tatooine all along, and there he is in episode 9. So I think one is no less feasible than the other.
True.
I'd love him to be alive in some way.
Yeah,
I really would.
Do you know what, Mark? Would it be funny if, do you know how Sky, Sky Move, we got Sky Moves in the UK, don't we? And they also do broadband and stuff like this. They do commercials for Pixar movies. When they're coming out, they've commissioned these special adverts, don't they, for Sky? And they did it with, for the Marvel films as well. I tell you what, they are missing a trick for Sky Broadband, where they're saying something on the lines of, if you want to project yourself in multiple different places in the universe, get
Sky Multi-Room.
Get Sky Multi-Room, as Luke did. Do you know what I mean? Because that's pretty good broadband.
Greatest spoiler ever given away in an advert, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, it's been absolutely fantastic talking about all this stuff, and I think I don't usually go this far into it, Mark, but for so long it's usually very quick and we get into the interview. But I tell you what, it's time to go into the interview with Paul Bateman. So we'll go into that, Mark, and we'll wrap it up afterwards. We'll come back and wrap it up then. If that's okay with you?
That sounds good to me.
Well, welcome back to part 2 of this 95 episode part saga with me, Jamie, and with Paul. It's great to be back, isn't it, Paul?
It is, yeah, man. Like, see, this is what happens when you kind of go, Paul, do you want to come on and talk about Star Wars? Like, succinct isn't really like a word in my vocabulary.
Yeah. Well, we don't mind. Right, let's jump straight back into it, Paul. And there's one question I wanted to ask you is, do you think that the spin-off films are more successful than the numbered trilogy films?
Well, I have to say, I mean, it's one of these things where, people can kind of take it at face value. I mean, one of the things I always say, James, is it takes a lot of really brilliant people making a lot of real effort to make a bad movie, right? Because filmmaking is really difficult, and there's a reason why there's only a handful of people that have managed to make a really good Star Wars movie, and why nobody did it before George, and it's because it's really, really, really tough. Yeah. There's a lot of balls in the end there. There's a lot of expectation with a Star Wars movie. It's a real tricky thing to accomplish, and anybody that even gets close is a real miracle worker in my book. And it's really difficult because I looked at The Force Awakens, and when I came out of that, I mean, I was lucky enough to get to the premiere and stuff like that, and then the following day I flew out to the States to go and see it with my mates out there. So within 24 hours I'd seen it in 2 countries, and that was the confidence I had in the brand and Disney as a company, J.J. Abrams and all that, because I was a big fan of his movies. And so I was relieved to find that when I saw it, like, I thought, yeah, this movie's running at about 85 for me, out of 100. I thought, I really like it, I thought it's up there probably past the prequels for me, in a lot of respects. But at the same time, I kind of felt like, yeah, it's kind of the same story we've heard before in a lot of ways. But the thing about it that I liked, that I thought kind of worked, was it felt like the film that we needed rather than the film that we wanted. It felt like this is a film that's reintroducing what old-fashioned Star Wars is like to a new generation of kids who weren't around when the first movie came out. So you think like, yeah, this is a good way of setting up Star Wars for a while, and we want it to be around when we're old and grey, you know. I think it was really smart to kind of target children with a film that was a lot like the old film. And I think there was enough newness in the characters and stuff to just kind of let it slide that the story was so similar. But so I felt like, yeah, this is a good film to start on. But at the same time, I was thinking they better really kind of get it together for number 2, because we want something that's up there with Empire, in terms of originality. But for me, I thought The Last Jedi, you know, it was really about you know, surprising people, you know, just for the sake of surprising them, in my opinion. I know half the audience loved it, but I think anybody that thinks that half the audience didn't like it is in denial, because there are hundreds of thousands of reviews all over the net of people that they don't just not like it, they hate it, which is a very, very different thing. And it's very rare that a film gets that kind of reaction. And it's not just because, I mean, one of these terms that I really dislike these days, James, is hater as a label, because to me I think it's quite diminishing. I think it's making light of people's feelings. And I think in the end it's like, you know, we've all, you know, certainly fans who are old enough to remember what it was like when it came out in the 70s. We've spent 40 years being told to love and expect something, and then when it goes off the rails and does something different to that, you shouldn't knock people for getting upset.
It's very true. It's very true.
There's a lot like going around, you know.
Yeah, the fans have certainly reacted really strongly when it comes to The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I went to see The Force Awakens, I came out thinking, did I enjoy that or not? I was not too sure.
I really liked it straight away. I liked it.
But saying that, I don't mind it now. I can watch it and I don't mind it. But the thing is, if I didn't like it or liked it, you know, it was out, okay.
Yeah.
Right, we've got a base of a story. Let's carry on that story to a conclusion. And then The Last Jedi seemed to have come in and go, do you know what? Everything you've just set up in that film, I'm going to chuck like Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, and I'm going to just do my whole film. When he chucked that lightsaber, I thought, this is how this film's going to go. And it's exactly how it went for me.
I felt like, the way I felt about James was like, I went into this right from the very off, and my position has always been Kathleen Kennedy's an absolute genius. Look at her production roster.
Yeah.
You know, except at the same time, I do recognise the fact that her job as a producer prior to Star Wars was very different. And it's not the same job. You know, it just isn't. But you know, I've always had faith in her intelligence and you know, her just a general all-round smarts. You know, she seemed like the perfect person for the job, and she probably still is. You know, I mean, because for the bottom line for me is I thought Last Jedi was probably 8 out of 10. Sorry, I thought The Force Awakens was probably 8 out of 10. I thought Rogue One was maybe 9 out of 10. I thought Last Jedi was 1 out of 10, and then I thought Solo was 9 out of 10. So you're looking at it that way, it's like you got 4 films that I really, really liked you got 3 films that I really liked out of 4. So I mean that in itself is a real achievement. So the fact that one film is super divisive, people shouldn't lose sight of the fact that, you know, even to the people that really didn't like that movie, we're still mostly getting hits. You know, and I think people are losing sight of that a little bit. It's like, yeah, there's no reason to start boycotting things or getting silly about it. It's like, in the end, they're getting most of them right. I mean, especially if you consider the people that really didn't like prequels. I mean, they had like 9 years of not liking movies. You know, whereas here I kind of think, well, they've only been at it since 2012, and by and large, we like most of it, even the people that don't like Last Jedi. So, you know what I mean? I've still got a huge amount of confidence in their ability to kind of proceed and make good films that we all kind of get. I think that there are plenty of people involved in the process that do get it, you know.
Yeah. I was at a convention and I was talking to some people, and of course The Last Jedi came up, and when I said, yeah, I didn't like it, this guy said to me, oh, is it because you're racist or you're sexist? And I went, excuse me? And he says, you heard me. And I was like, hold on, I am a child of the 80s. I had Ripley. She was a kick-ass. I bought the action figure of Lando Lando's black. I says, I'm not a racist. I'm not a sexist. Those actors are only paid to do that film. They're great people, right? But the film's not good.
Yeah, I mean, many of us don't like it. Many people really, really like it, and I think that's enough to say we don't need another film like that. If half your audience hates it and half your audience loves it, you've made a bad film. You have.
Yeah. What got me more than anything, though, Paul, was instead of just saying, "Oh, why didn't you like it?" Straight away.
Yeah, the assumption was there.
Yeah, I was racist or a sexist. And it's got nothing to do with that.
Yeah,
Absolutely
people are keen to go to that because, I mean, it feels like propaganda to me, and I'm tired of it. I really am. It's one of those things where you just think, I don't need it. But I mean, the irony of it too is that, you know, when I first heard that Rian Johnson was directing this, I couldn't have been happier because I've liked all of Ryan's back catalogue.
Me too.
Literally everything.
Me too.
I've loved it all. I really enjoyed Looper. I thought it was a fascinating movie and a really good script. So literally the only movie I've not liked by Ryan was this. That was it. So I was definitely one of the voices kind of going, yep, great choice. He's the guy, you know. But I guess where I was going with this, I think, James, is, you know, because you were talking about having time to kind of assess your situation and all that. What boggles my mind is that you know, the film was basically ready 6 months before it went out into release, that nobody kind of addressed the fact that there were problems with the movie. Just that it just blows my mind that I mean, because I literally from the first frame to the last time I found myself kind of going, wait, what? Like, you know, and I'm no idiot that's film illiterate. Like, I mean, I work in this business for a living, you know, and all the way through it I was kind of just wait. You know, like shot after shot after shot, you know, and it was like, and it can all be explained and it can all be justified, you know, if you sit down and listen to people who've really, really kind of thought about it.
Yeah.
But you know, my feeling was just that it should have been more apparent, like while you're watching the film, and it's clearly upset a lot of people, and that does not. Is not irrelevant, you know.
Well,
I think,
even if you look on YouTube and you see interviews with Mark Hamill talking about it, you can generally see the guy's upset about it. And when he's with Rian Johnson, you know, they're probably really good friends. But you know, that press tour, I bet you that was really hard for them both. You know what I mean? Because I think that if anything, it just did not look like they were flowing together.
I think the thing about Ryan is that he's clearly a nice guy. And I hate some of the rubbish that he's having to put up with online. It's, you know, there's an enormous amount of entitlement kind of going around at the moment from every direction. Haters and lovers of the movie. You know, there's people thinking you should all love it. If you don't, you're an idiot. There are other people kind of going, you know, if you hate it, I hate it, and if you don't hate it, you're an idiot. So all these people just basically need to shut up and get some balance in their heads, you know.
Yeah.
But there's an awful lot of kind of, you know, like nastiness kind of directed at Ryan and confusion around Mark. And you know, my feeling about it is, Ryan did his best. He made a film that he really wanted to make, and that's, you know, that's all you can expect from him. And you know, I think it's I find the film incredibly disappointing, and it makes me sad that there's a Star Wars movie that I dislike this much. Yeah. You know, I would have said that was not easy to take me there. You know, and I think it's beyond surprising. And I think that the one thing that I'm very aware of, you know, when you work in the industry, is that, you know, quite often there's a code of conduct amongst actors and directors and people in the business. You generally, you know, if your feelings are quite negative about a thing, you know, you generally keep your opinions to yourself. Because you don't want to hurt the movie. You don't want to, you know, you want to give people a chance to decide for themselves whether or not they like it or not. So, you know, Mark's been in the business for a very long time, so I think it's quite clear that he's not a fan of this movie, because even a modest remark like that is a big deal to an actor in this, you know. I mean, because they're not going to come out and say, you know, full on, like, I really don't like this movie.
Yeah.
So even a modest remark is like, you can turn the volume up on it, because it's like, it's so rare that happens, you know. I mean, for me, I think it's very telling when people go quiet. It's like if a lot of people in the industry that you would expect to be all over a thing saying like, "Oh, I love it, it's great," but you don't see them in the press anywhere and they don't say anything. You know, true. I think it's very easy to kind of, you know,
silence tells everything, doesn't it? Sometimes.
Well, you know, I mean, it can go both ways, but you know, but the bottom line for me is that, you know, I just hope number 9 is a very different movie, and I think it will be. I think it kind of has to be, and I think, you know, clearly Disney and Dumbos, no pun intended, and you know, they want to make a movie that everybody likes that makes a ton of money. So, true.
True. But saying that though, Paul, on Twitter, all of a sudden an account suddenly popped up called Remake The Last Jedi. Now, Seth Rogen put his 2 pence into this.
Yeah.
And he had quite a forward and backwards conversation with the team of this Remake The Last Jedi.
Right.
And then even Rian Johnson suddenly tweeted, please, 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 please actually make this happen. Please. From Rian Johnson. And when I read that, I thought, oh, Ryan, you've just fallen into it. It's a trap. You know what I mean? Because now they can say even their director wants this to do it. So I had a look at these, and they reckon these people are real producers, and they have got some serious cash, and they are willing to remake The Last Jedi. What? What do you make it? Have you seen this online?
Yeah, I've seen it. I mean, bottom line is the reality of the film industry is nobody blows $200 million on a movie that they can't release. You know, so there's no way on this planet that this is going to happen. No way. You know, I mean, it's a fun little bit of something, but there's no way on earth. I mean, when I think about all the directors and producers, that I've worked with over the years that have struggled to get a movie to happen, and you think like, nobody's pulling $200 million, dollars out of the jacksie to make a remake of a movie that they don't own. It's just not going to happen, But it's fun, and it's crazy that somebody would even consider it.
I know.
But, I think the idea that somebody's got $200 million they can just throw away doing this is kind of crazy,
Yeah.
I mean, if they were going to do it, they would just do it, right? I mean, they just go out and do it and share it with everybody, because there's no way they could ever do it as a conventional kind of movie release,
What gets me more than anything, though, Paul, is right. People have already pledged in for this.
Yeah.
Right, so far, they've got £153,399,590.
They say that, but nobody's actually financially committed, are they? I mean, it's nobody's giving anybody bank details. They're just saying that. I mean, we could ring up tomorrow and say, right, I'll give you 40 million. And it doesn't mean you're going to do it.
Yeah, I was having a look at their pledges, and they say you can have a signed script, you can have your, I was like, no, you're asking me to give you money for nothing.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny,
bizarre,
and I think that Star Wars fans have always had a tendency to sort of like write their own sequels and stuff like that. I mean, it's entertaining, isn't it? I mean, I remember back in the 80s, when Empire Strikes Back was being made, that people were all speculating as to what direction it was going to go in, and everybody was like, that new Boba Fett dude is going to turn out to be like Luke Skywalker's dad, or, and everybody was guessing away at how it was going to work out, and everybody was getting it wrong. Yeah. And I think that's part of the fun of this universe. I think is the fact that it's such a rich place. It's got interesting pieces to play with, and I think I'm all for that. I think it's great that people have fun with these characters and dreams to fulfill.
For one thing, Paul, when I started reading this remake Last Jedi, it actually brought a smile to my face and made me start laughing about it. And I was thinking, that's just great that people just want it. But on the other thing, really, they're that. I'm upset about The Last Jedi, but I wouldn't ask them to remake it. It'd be nice, but
I'd like to see a really, really well written script, like a really excellent fan script. Go out,
audio drama.
Go out of China. I mean, because I've worked on a good number of projects that have floundered at the last minute, and they've like a lot of films in the British film industry, and they've ended up sort of becoming animated instead of live action or whatever, and literally you can get like a 2-hour animated feature pulled off in China for like about $200,000 or something ridiculous like that. So it's almost nothing.
Can you imagine that?
To do an animated feature. So what I would say is, if they were going to do that, then that's the way to do it. Is to just
I'm going to tweet that, Paul. I'm going to tweet that later on.
China and make it for $200,000 instead of like $200 million. But even then, the argument still stands. What a lot of people are saying is, if you've got $200 million to waste on mucking about remaking a film that a lot of people think is perfectly all right, then why not spend that money, on a needy cause or something?
Yeah.
So
why can't they not? Do you know when you go abroad and you see all these dodgy dodgy Star Wars toys that are called Star Force? You know what I mean? Why can't they not do like Star Force, the last Big Buy, or something?
Well, there are like lots of movies that were made out in Turkey and stuff like that, where the copyright laws are very different and stuff, aren't they? Where we've got like Superman 2, like about a week after Superman came out, or all these other So it is possible to do it on a shoestring, but I don't think that's what they're shooting for, is it? They're looking for something that's the same as the movie. I just think it's just, to me, it's just like, there's no way any producer worth his salt would blow $200 million on this, Yeah. I mean, the only way this could ever happen is if there's an eccentric multimillionaire that just wants to blow money. It's the only way it would ever happen. It's just like some complete loon. Yeah. That's just like, but I don't think that's the situation here.
Ooh, Seth Rogen was right getting in with it.
Really? Was he?
Yeah.
That's funny.
He says the remake of The Last Jedi says, our team of producers are offering to cover the budget for a remake of The Last Jedi in order to save the Star Wars universe. And Seth Rogen goes, yo, I'm very confused as to what your goal is here. You literally want to spend $200 million remaking The Last Jedi, or someone is giving you that money? I don't get it. Right? And of course they've just gone, oh, not just spend, invest. Right, and he's gone, okay, is someone actually investing this money? And they go on saying, yeah, they've got investors. Right at the end, though, Seth Rogen goes, so do you already have investors? Like you already got people to invest money with the hopes that Disney will let you make this, which there is no reason or historical precedent for.
Yeah.
But the amount of retweets... the amount of retweets this has all had is like 60k retweets.
Yeah.
And 6.7k messages. My God, they're all getting into it. But what I want to know more than anything, though, Paul, right, is that you posted on Rebel Force Radio's page your crawl for episode 9, and I was thinking, bless Paul, he's trying to fix it. He's going for it.
True, it definitely wasn't.
Yeah. Cool. No, explain to the listeners who have probably not seen that post your idea for episode 9.
Well, no way. First of all, no way was it a serious idea. It was just me messing about because I just thought, that'll be fun to play with. Because I mean, I think sometimes Twitter takes itself a bit too seriously, and it all gets really like heavy, like way too soon. And I just thought it would be fun to just kind of throw a spanner in the works and all that. I just thought, it's. I think we all have our own head canon, like for years, people had their own ideas about what the Clone Wars were about, like all the way through the original trilogy. None of us really knew what the score was, and obviously it wasn't until the prequels arrived and stuff we had any real understanding of what went down. Yeah. And for me, I just kind of thought, there's lots of wonderful stuff in the sequel trilogy. There is lots and lots that's really super, but I can't help it. I mean, part of my job is designing movies, and I've spent a lot of time with directors chatting through their projects, and I've always been the kind of guy that like I never get into kind of demarcation about what's your job and my job. I kind of like I'm happy to play a part in anything. So I've quite often stepped into kind of story group meetings and things like that, and just because people thought it'd be fun to get some visual ideas in the mix. So for me, it's very hard to leave this stuff alone. It's just something that's fun to play with. So I was just sort of thinking what would really freak people out would be, if the whole thing turned out to be like Bobby Ewing from Dallas, and that Luke Skywalker had basically been asleep for 5 years. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine if they actually did that? I mean, it would never happen in a million years. But if Luke Skywalker sort of suddenly, woke up at the start of episode 9, and it turned out that episodes, 7 and 8 were just a dream. And so I was thinking about like I can never. It's one of these things where it's like I don't know if you know that story about Hunter Thompson, the artist, but he the very did a lot of political cartoons and stuff, and he was out with Ralph Steadman, the political artist, and he was out having a wild time with Ralph Steadman, and they saw this yacht kind of show up, and it was this multimillionaire who's a bit of a prat kind of showed up, and they decided in their drunken stupor that what they were going to do is they were going to go out in a little dinghy and they were going to spray graffiti on the outside of this guy's boat just to sort of tell him what they thought of him. But when they went out there, they couldn't help but do a nice job of it. So they ended up doing the graffiti. So it was really obvious who'd done it, and so they both got done.
Yeah.
But I'm a bit like that. It's like I just want to have a little mess about, but before I know it, I've really thought it through.
Yeah.
So it was like one of those things where I was just like thinking, yeah, it'd be really cool if you'd been in some kind of a trance, like a lot of kind of Jedi Knight characters do, kind of go off and have some vision quest, and that all of episode 7 and 8 were just there to teach him a lesson of how things might work out rather than how things did work out. And I think one of my problems with The Last Jedi, well, and The Force Awakens to an extent, I mean, I liked most of it, but was just the fact that they made Han such a kind of like a lousy dad, and that he left Leia and stuff. I think that's kind of sad that they kind of undid the happy ending. I think it would have been nice if they'd managed to kind of hold that together, and didn't just tear them apart for the sake of being interesting.
Yeah.
I really did hope that they had kids and, that everything was kind of worked out for them, and I felt that didn't need to be where the drama was, So yeah, I was just playing around with that, and then just kind of thinking it would be fun if there was a big bad that was comparable to Darth Vader. And so in this I was just messing about saying that Thrawn basically comes back, but I'm not that big a fan of Thrawn that I would like that to happen in the movies. I was just having a bit of fun. So
it was good. But
a lot of people really reacted to it, didn't they? They were like,
yeah, they did.
Yes or no, like it's
you're saving us. You're like the
gonna
Messiah.
Yeah.
Well,
like anybody's going to pay any attention to it at all,
Now, I might be wrong here, but did you not once come up with a really good scenario for a Boba Fett film?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I can take complete credit for it, because it's one of those things where it's just like, I feel like, once you dial into Star Wars, I think any one of us can kind of see where the writing is. We can kind of see where it's heading, and I think especially if you get really into Joseph Campbell, it's kind of obvious, the paths that are more commonly taken and the patterns that repeat and stuff like that. And to me, I just kind of felt like Boba Fett's tale was really I just didn't enjoy him in the prequels as a character. I felt like everything that was appealing about him as a personality was taken away, because I think one of the reasons we all thought Boba Fett was cool in the first place was just purely the fact that he was so mysterious and we knew nothing about him.
Yeah.
And that we had, and as soon as you take that away, it's like, well, who cares? It's just another kid. No matter how complex his life is, no matter, that it's just taken away what was the appeal of that character initially, at least. So for me, it was like, well, the way they've got to make that character into something cool again is to have like Tamir Morrison standing at a bar somewhere, with his Boba Fett gear on, or Daniel standing there, and then somebody walks into frame, you don't see who it is, they shoot him in the back of the head and take the helmet and all his gear, and then but I would have set it between the trilogies, so that what suddenly happened there is that the Boba Fett in the prequel trilogy is just a totally different person from the one in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And that got me more flames. You couldn't believe it, James. I mean, some people were like, yes, hallelujah, and other people were like, how dare you, Raina? That was George's idea, and it should be a New Zealand actor and blah blah blah. But for me, I was like, I was really annoyed that they changed the original trilogy and changed the voice and everything. It was like, no, dude.
Yeah.
Like that was my main problem with it. Was like, don't go changing this film that we were familiar with for over a decade, just to sort of fit in with what you've now decided is the way you want to go.
Yeah.
So for me, I felt like that was the thing. And then there was rumors. Yeah, there were rumors afoot that was potentially the kind of pathway they were going to take.
Yeah.
And I'm Gabby, so I can remember talking a few times to pals at Lucasfilm and stuff, and thinking, I wonder if that slowly kind of filtered through with Chinese whispers,
Yeah, they're probably sitting there going, hey, that's a good idea. Who told you that?
But then I think anybody that really gets this stuff, really. Sorry, I don't mean to belittle anybody that really thinks that's a bad idea, because that's not really where I'm coming from, But anybody that's kind of familiar with the tropes and the way this stuff normally goes, I think would have come up with this idea and that approach. That's not something that's kind of unique to me. I think any writer that's looking to reclaim that mystery, I think that's the obvious way to go, is kill the guy. I mean, I think it's kind of obvious. But so the first thing I did when I put that stuff out there was like, if anybody from Lucasfilm's watching, I'm not interested in suing you at all about anything. I'm too loyal to the brand. I would never do that. So if I tread on the territory of anybody that's like developing something, I wouldn't want to spoil them doing something that much fun. And you have got to watch that these days because they have to be careful what they read. A lot of these people won't even look at the internet just in case they get sued for poaching an idea. Because it does happen.
Yeah, because funny enough, in the Solo marketing, wasn't there something about the posters? Where you had the word Solo and Lando, and apparently they were exactly the same used for Sony had used for music publicity, and they were like, well, they said, oh no, it's nothing like it, but yeah, it was. You could definitely tell somebody had looked at it and gone, yeah, I copy that.
Well, it did look like it. I mean, the colours and stuff were the thing, but yeah, I mean, it's tricky. I mean, I just look at that and kind of go, yeah, they probably went to an agency for a start off. A lot of this stuff is done outside of your home turf. You can't control it all.
Yeah,
and
true.
And unfortunately, at some of these places, you're going to get some 20-year-old designer who's working on something at midnight on a Friday, and they might be struggling for an idea. They might be inspired by something, and think, I mean, this kind of stuff can trip you up if you're not careful. Like you can drop into a design and kind of like think, well, we'll start here, but we'll take it somewhere different. Yeah. And then somebody kind of goes, yeah, we like it, go with that. Yeah. And you're like, wait,
Very true, very
true.
true.
I mean, it's anybody's guess what happened, but yeah, it did seem super similar, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. But do you know what you're saying about your idea for Boba? I remember reading a book. I think it was a Han Solo book, and I think it was called Scoundrels by Timothy Zahn.
Right. Yeah.
Now there was a guy who would hide him for a job, and literally, are you familiar with the book? By the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Right at the end, it turned out to be Boba Fett.
Right.
And he put on the helmet.
Yeah.
Well, unless I read it wrong, and I was like, wow, I did not realise that. That was a fantastic story. Now, so when I heard that your idea as well, and I thought, God, it all makes sense. The universe is coming together. These things are going to happen. And then, so your idea, like you say, your idea for episode 9, I reckon people are there. People are there going, that's not a bad idea. That'll cure a lot of backlash.
I've had a lot more ideas about episode 9 than that. I mean, I can tell you some of my freaky stuff if you'd like. I mean, there's like, I mean, one of the things I was thinking of, one of the things about Kylo Ren that I kind of found a little disappointing is that, although I thought Adam Driver's performance was fantastic and I found him probably one of the best things about The Last Jedi. I thought he was really mesmerising. His intensity that he brings to the part is it's quite amazing. At the same time, I don't feel like that Kylo really carries the same weight as the Darth Vader or Palpatine. And I would have liked to have seen them do something really creative to make that work somehow. And one of the ideas I thought would be fun was I thought that it would have been nice if they'd gone for more of a kind of like Kylo is a crazy kind of Darth Vader, like just zealot, like a complete obsessive, and push it until the guy is like as extreme as it could be in terms of being a Vader fanboy. And I would, because of that scene where Snoke is kind of mocking him for wearing the mask and stuff like that, I was thinking, yeah, it kind of is a bit silly when you think about it, that he wears that mask. Because it's not like he needs to. And then, that took me to a place where I was thinking, what if the guy was such a huge Vader fan that he thought, I'm going to follow in this guy's footsteps. I'm going to walk through fire. And he literally decides to walk through lava just to make himself more like Vader. So he's so crazy, he actually burns himself to the point where he needs to wear the suit. Whoa, and then every time you see him in the suit, you'll know that's a guy that's just completely insane. Like he's wearing an iron lung because he decided to burn himself nearly to death.
Yeah,
I mean it's sick, but it's no darker than what we saw in
not a bad idea.
Revenge of the Sith. But I mean, every time you see him, you'd think like he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. And then he actually just steps out and walks through lava. You just be like, oh my God, look at what the guy's doing. And like all just to follow in his grandfather's footsteps. I mean, it's pretty messed up.
It'd be like somebody who's into self-modification.
Yeah.
Because that's a real thing. Mm-hmm. People do that. you know, people feel like they need to lop off an arm or a leg, right, to make them whole.
Well, he just wants to physically change himself. He wants to be somebody.
Do some concept artwork on that.
He wants to be somebody different.
Yeah.
He doesn't just want to change. He wants to, you know, remake himself. So I thought that was an interesting idea. And then another idea that I thought would be fun was when it came to Luke arriving on Acto, one of the things I found a little bit disappointing about that was how small the island was and how the turtles kind of dominated, you know, little turtle people. And I thought, like, what I would like to have seen is if we saw Luke kind of flying in his X-Wing in a flashback over the island, and then he just kept going. And you see the turtle people kind of looking at him like, where's he going? And then you find like this enormous kind of Force temple buried in the ocean, so like a giant pyramid that you could imagine Luke Skywalker being occupied inside the place for like 20 years. There's so much of it, it's going to take him 20 years to get around the whole thing. And inside is nothing but like Jedi, like, you know, history. There's books and scrolls and artifacts and weapons and all kinds of things that you just think, we don't know what any of this stuff is. And Luke basically chooses to stay there and learn for 20 years. So when he finally came out and returned to the fold, he could actually change things up because he's literally spent 20 years how to be a tougher, more unusual Jedi than we've ever seen. So by the last scene of The Last Jedi, the guy could have been flying through the air, he could have been lifting walkers up with one hand, he could have been doing anything, because the guy has just spent all this time between the two trilogies, like most of that time, just learning how to be.
Why are you not writing these down? Why are you not submitting scripts? You've just made me go, I want that film.
So imagine when he shows up like at the end, and then the other thing I was thinking of was he, you know, when Leia's kind of down on a look at the end of the movie, and she's kind of, you know, sad and wondering where Luke is, and, you know, and all that. I'd have had him show up and say, I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm here to rescue you. So the very last scene with those two together is the same as the first scene. It was those two together. And then have him go out and kick some ass with the walkers.
Yeah.
But
there is one scene in The Last Jedi where it says, what did you want me to do? Go out there and swipe them all with my hand? And I was like,
That's what we all wanted, Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to do, another scene that really kind of fully formed into my head, was I remember reading about Ryan spending a lot of time with Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher and chatting to them about what they were into and what their thing was, you know, and I was thinking, that's interesting that he's getting their input for the script. I wonder. And the first thing that kind of popped into my head was that both Carrie and Mark are huge animal lovers, right? They really love dogs, you know, they're big into their doggies. And I thought, that's interesting. And then obviously I saw the crystal foxes, and I put two and two together, and I was thinking, what if, like, rather than having Carrie kind of like fly through space doing a Mary Poppins, you know, what if, like, at the end of the movie, you know, Luke had actually gone to fight Kylo, and despite his, you know, his amazing new powers garnered on this island and what have you, Kylo still begins to get the better of him, right? Just because of the age gap and, you know, a bit of luck, you know, and his anger and everything, he manages to get Luke on the floor. And what I would have liked to have seen was have Leia come out to rescue Luke, because, you know, she's got a form that's you know, traditionally she's been the one that is quite capable of saving herself, you know.
Yeah.
Have Leia come out from the base on Crate and just reach out like she's using the Force, and from behind her, a pack of those crystal foxes just rush out from behind her and attack Kylo and drag him off Luke. So Luke gets a chance to get away, and basically Princess Leia is leading a pack of dogs that she's using the Force to control this dog pack. Because I thought it'd be great to have her sort of, you know, use the Force in a way that's real empowering, but it would be something that they could actually do without it being like enormously challenging to carry as an actress that's you know, getting up there in years, you know. So, and then as soon as I pictured that, I was like, oh man, the idea of like Princess Leia with this pack of crystal dogs, like on her side, you know, it'd be so cool to see. And then Kylo would just have to get the hell out of there, you know.
Well, I had a scene that was fully formed in my mind, right, for The Last Jedi, and the scene where Leia gets blasted out of the bridge, right? My mind's eye said to me, she feels Kylo is ready to shoot the bridge. She feels it as it plays out, but when he takes his finger off and the TIE fighters shoot She senses it. She turns round, and just as the bulkhead gets blown away, she puts her hands out and uses the force to bring the bulkhead back and hold it enough that that Akbar and the rest can escape.
Nice.
Yeah, then she sort of reaches behind her, keeping one hand out, keeping all the bulkhead together, holds on to the side, lets it go so the bulkhead gets blown away, and then she sort of drags herself back into the inner airlock and shuts.
Yeah.
Boom. That's how I wanted it. Oh, I've got all cold thinking.
I like it. I think the only thing I'd say about that is that's a top notch, uber powerful Jedi thing to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure she's had that much training, but but I think it's definitely a cooler idea than what we got, I think. But I mean, there were so many little moments where I just kind of thought it would have been, it would have been nice if this, it would have been nice if that, and I'm sure that there are loads of fans out there that are kind of thinking, shut up, you got what you got, like, there you go. See, you went in with your own assumptions about what it would be. The thing I would say about that is I've been going in with assumptions about these movies since 1979 or whatever, or 1980, whenever it was when Empire came out. It hasn't stopped me from enjoying the movies. Like I've always been able to just kind of enjoy what was given me, like, over my own daft ideas. But
yeah.
So it's novel. I mean, it's fun to explore this stuff too. I think in your own head. I mean, I just I think we all wanted Luke to be more rather than less.
Yeah.
I
don't want him to die. I just, I will forgive The Last Jedi if the next film he actually turns up somewhere. So he's transitioned into the Force, then back out of it. You know what I mean? Because his journey wasn't done. I don't want him to be a Force ghost. Cause I want him to be a real person. But they'll go down the aspect, it's a Force ghost.
It's strange, though, because, it's hard to know where they're going to go, because this is science fiction, it could go anywhere. One of the things I thought would really, I was thinking, like, okay, if Episode 9 came out, how much of my issues with Episode 8, could be dealt with, and one of the first things I thought of, because I thought, there are all these problems with the plotting and the writing and stuff like that I think... indisputable, but obviously there are people out there who will most definitely dispute me on it. But more than anything, it was just about the way that Luke Skywalker was treated as a character, and that I had an issue with, and I think I feel somewhat validated by the fact that obviously Mark Hamill felt exactly the same way about it. He clearly did not like where it went, and I'm definitely in camp Mark. But yeah. I think. So I was thinking, like, I wonder what they could do. One of the things I thought would be constructive was if somehow they established that Snoke. We already know that Snoke can kind of control people's minds to an extent. It's a bit like these aren't the droids you're looking for.
Very powerful he was.
But much more. Like the fact that he can kind of get Rey and Kylo, force chatting and all that kind of stuff. That's all Snoke's doing.
Yeah.
So you think it is conceivable that Snoke could have got inside Luke's head, and that it was him making Luke behave out of character and behave like a person that a lot of us were uncomfortable with seeing as the Luke Skywalker that we're familiar with. And the reason that he's different is because it's not him. Snoke's inside his head, making him fearful, making him, be on the island, making him think the time for the Jedi to end is nigh, and blah blah blah. But maybe that's not Luke at all. Maybe that's just Snoke playing mind games with him and making him confused about the situation.
Yeah.
So I thought that would help me a lot if on some level we found out that Snoke was messing with Luke's head. That would go a long way to fixing it.
It would.
And then I think, like, it would have been. I still don't understand why they didn't leave a bigger gap between the two movies, because I think that was the largest problem for Rey. Because I loved Rey in The Force Awakens, but in this one it was like, really, she seemed to get powerful pretty fast,
Yeah. You just make me wish that you wrote Star Wars now.
Oh God, no! You don't want that. You don't want that. It would be.
I don't know. They're really good ideas.
There'd be a lot more Wookiees in there for a start off, and a ton of old droids.
Wasn't there was some talk, wasn't there, that Alden sort of like contracted for 2 more films? Do you think they'll probably go with that? Because I'd like them to go to Kashyyyk for the to see the Wookiees. I want to go back to that planet.
me too. I mean, it's certainly not looking like they're going to, is it? I mean, it's the first Star Wars movie to look as though it's probably going to make a loss at the cinema. I mean, it's astonishingly low figure for Solo, and I think it's so sad for all of them because there's been, such good work in this movie. I mean, it was well written, well performed, well directed. I mean, the whole thing, the design was wonderful. I just love this movie. But, I think that the people, at Lucasfilm have, obviously, they're a smart bunch, and I think that they're going to take the right lessons from this, which is basically that maybe we need to be more careful, first and foremost, about when it's released and how far apart it is from the other movies. I don't think that they're going to look at this and kind of go, okay, we've got a problem with spin-off films, and it is one of these things where there is a lot of stuff, kind of a lot of rubbish talked on the net, and I think my feeling immediately upon seeing, spoiler alert, Maul in Solo was there's no way that character hasn't brought into this for any other reason than to prepare the average film goer to the inevitable fact that Maul's probably going to show up in a Kenobi movie as a big bad. So, and I know we've seen him in Rebels and we've kind of had that story, but I think these things are assets, and I think like Maul is too big an asset to live on the table just because we saw him in an animated show. I think if they want to bring him into a movie, they're going to bring him into a movie. I think that
The only thing about Maul was that a couple of my friends who had seen Solo said, "Oh, is this a prequel before Phantom Menace?" And I went, "No." I says, "Oh, there's a big thing that happens in Clone Wars," and they were like, "What's the Clone Wars?" I was like, "Oh, right, man."
Well, I mean,
but they love Star Wars, but they've only seen the movies.
Right.
They've not gone into seeing any of the TV, the TV shows.
I mean, it's because it's not central. It's not central to the plot and stuff like that. I think people can ride with it. I think people that aren't familiar can kind of go, "Wait, what?" And then later they'll find out, because they'll be curious about it, or it'll get mentioned on the Blu-ray, or they'll find out. I don't think it's going to. It's not going to disrupt the filmmaking experience. I mean, I kind of felt like I was talking to FJ DeSanto, our fellow A-Team member, and I remember FJ was saying that he felt as though they almost missed a beat in not setting it up as Solo, the first of X trilogy, and just spelling it out for people that there's like an underworld trilogy, and perhaps doing. Number 2 might be Boba Fett centric. So the first Solo movie would be mostly Solo. The second one would be Solo and Boba, and then the third one might be Jabba and Solo. Because we don't want that the moment where he drops the spice to fall too soon in the event. Because otherwise it's like Jabba's been hunting for him for 10 years before the original movies, which doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think he's probably right. I think that would have been the way to spin it, to have like a Boba-centric Solo movie and have a Jabba-centric Solo movie. Yeah. But now, I really don't know if we're going to get that. I don't know. I mean, I hope so. I hope they can sit there and kind of look at this film and kind of go, "Well, this film's amazing," and I hope the Blu-ray sales go through the roof and downloads it. I hope everybody downloads it and buys it and supports it, because I think it's a great film, and I would love to see 2 more of these at least. I think they're great, and I feel the same way you do, James, about these, and I think that Solo and Rogue One so far are my two faves, And Force Awakens is up there too. I think it was a great setup.
It's like what happened to Blade Runner, the sequel to Blade Runner. I thought that was a cracking film.
Yeah,
and I would have put money on that being a blockbuster, and it didn't.
Yeah, I knew that wasn't going to make money. I mean, the first one didn't.
It literally fell into the same shoes as the original. It's become a cult classic. It's becoming a classic.
Yeah.
Because I've got it. Straight out, I was like, that, because some of the effects in it, because I saw it in 3D as well, were absolutely amazing. Do you know that scene where the hologram is with the sort of mixed in with the prostitute sort of thing?
Yeah.
So that was just mind-boggling how they did that as an effect. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Whoever's doing that CG is absolutely fantastic.
It's a beautiful
amazing
film.
It is.
I mean, Roger
fantastic.
Deakins is the main reason to go see that film. I thought.
Yeah, and I'm glad he got the Oscar for it.
Oh, about time.
About time. And Harrison Ford was ace in that.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting to hear the stories about him shooting all the stuff in the pod. Like at the end when like they were saying, it's when you think about it, it's crazy that there's a guy in his 70s. kind of turn up on set at 5 o'clock in the morning and ready and raring to go, sit in a pod full of water and fight in a wave machine and just totally up for that. I mean, let's just bear that in mind.
Yeah.
That can't be tough in your 70s. It can't be easy in your 70s unless you're hard as nails. So I think Harrison's got at least one more indie movie left in him. I think he's got the nuts to do it. I think.
Yeah. Well, there is that talk that he only did the Force Awakens, so he could do an Indiana Jones film. But do you know, I think if they said to him, "Would you actually been in another Star Wars film?" I bet you would have gone, "Yeah." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he would have done
it. Yeah. Yeah, I think he would have done it because he's...
Paid him enough, he would have. Yeah. I mean, I'd have liked to have seen, I liked the Indiana Jones Chronicles, the old show, even though it was nothing like the movies, very educational kind of little show.
Yeah, but that's what it was for, wasn't it?
Did you see the one that Harrison was in? Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Right.
Yes, I did. Because he had the big beard, because if I remember rightly, he was filming The Fugitive when he filmed that episode. Right. That's why he's got the big beard.
Well, I mean, I'd have liked to have seen, Harrison kind of maybe Harrison and Billy Dee kind of open the movie. Have them at a bar or something, chatting away about old times. I think that would have been a nice touch, but probably expensive and probably would have.
I wonder if they could do that. If they could bring, it'd be like a prequel, of course, but have Harrison Ford on the search for the Falcon, bring him back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and then him during that reminiscing about something similar that happened back in the day.
I remember talking to a friend about. So one of the things I thought would have been fun in an Indiana Jones movie is if you open it up and he's at some archaeological dig, right? And he's digging away and eventually somebody kind of goes, "Dr. Jones," and he comes up and looks. And there's a fossilized robotic hand with a lightsaber in it. That'd mess people up.
Yeah,
crossing the streams.
Well, did you ever see that mini story?
I did. Yeah, the comic with the Vulcan.
That was great. That a Yeti was Chewie.
Yeah.
And the Falcon was crashed. I thought, please.
Fun.
That was great. I honestly wished that somebody in the fan film community would got on board and done that. So that would have been a cracking thing.
I mean, the thing for me about this stuff is that, I could understand the cynicism of people inside the company, when it comes to fans kind of saying, this is what would make a great Star Wars movie. And I think the tendency is to kind of go, well, yeah, you people aren't storytellers, or you're not, you don't really know what's going to work out as a movie and blah, blah, blah. But then at the same time, I think they need to not lose sight of the fact that predominantly now, a huge percentage of the crew of the movies, the legitimate real movies, they're fans too. And there are people out there that aren't qualified to sort of, get creative, but there are plenty of really creative fans out there too that are coming up with really, really good ideas.
Yeah.
And I think it's too easy.
You've just come up with some. I've just come up with some.
Yeah.
And we're not story writers, but we've come up with a couple of good scenes. So I know what you're talking about. I can see it.
I have an idea that I think would make a great TV show, but I don't think they'd ever go there, just purely because it'd be too expensive. But I'm a huge fan of the Tales of the Jedi comics, right, from back in the 90s.
I do. That's a good series.
And I always thought what would be a cool credit sequence would be like a cave with a young Padawan kind of being led through the cave, right, by torchlight. And so there's a Jedi Master and a Padawan getting led, weaving in and out of these caves. Just by firelight, and on the walls you start to see kind of drawings on the walls, and then slowly you start to realise that these drawings are pictures that you recognise. You kind of go, I think I know that face, I think I know that spaceship, I think I know this, I think I know that. And then gradually it opens up, and Yoda's sitting there in front of his master, who's this old wizened kind of creature, and his master is in a trance and he's telling stories while Yoda writes the stories down, right? And you look all over the walls and you see pictures of Luke Skywalker, you see pictures of the people from Rogue One, you see pictures of all these various characters from centuries apart. And basically all it is this guy is reciting the entire history and future history of the Jedi, like from some weird Force trance. And these drawings are like these kind of scratching, drawings that he's done in this trance, So, and then the show would basically be take your pick. You know, it'd be a story from any era, you know, past, present, or future. And you could dip into the Old Republic, you could dip into, you know, the original trilogy era or the sequel trilogy era, and tell any story you like. But I think the reason that's probably an impractical story to tell is that it's a continuity minefield, and it's also super expensive because every week it would be something different.
Sounds good, man.
But I think
sounds
it
like a Jim Henson storyteller kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
fun, right?
Get on it, Paul. Get on it. You're making me excited for it. Anyway, what we'll do, Paul, is we'll leave it right there. Right?
Sounds like a good idea.
It's been absolutely fantastic having you on the show, and it was great to talk to you about everything about Star Wars. You know what I mean? And where can our listeners find you?
Well, you can check out Rebel Force Radio all over Twitter and on Facebook, or you can find me on Twitter myself at Paul RMQ, as in Ralph McQuarrie. You can find me there where you can chat to me or book me, tell me my ideas are stupid. And yeah, that's probably the easiest way to reach out to me.
That's great.
And obviously there's the Star Wars Influences, which is a very irregular show that I do with Jimmy Mack from Rebel Force Radio. That's all about the things that inspired Star Wars and you know, how Star Wars continues to inspire us all. So. That's
cool. Well, thank you for coming on the show, Paul.
Thanks, James.
Like I say to everyone who comes on the show, there's an open door for you to come back at any time.
Yub-nub.
Well, that was a great interview by Paul Bateman. And yes, he really does talk really a long time. You should see the unedited version of it. It is long. But for now, it's the end of the show, Mark.
Oh, yeah. So soon.
I know. And it's been, do you know what? Having you on and just talking the wars and talking the Trek, it's fantastic. I feel like you're here with us permanently. That's not a hint. So what you got lined up for the future? You know, what's coming up soon? Is there anything coming up in Fantatrax that we need to get on board and have a look at?
We've got the podcasts up and running now, so we've got Making Tracks and Fantha Down Under, or Fantha From Down Under up and running.
Very good podcast. I've listened to them. Very good.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. So we've got the next episode of Fantha Down Under coming out on Saturday, and the next Making Tracks out on Tuesday. So that's the days they generally come out. So trying to get into a good rhythm with those, sort of every other week with both episodes. So that's rocking and rolling. The YouTube's still busy and building, so we've got YouTube stuff coming on all the time, and it's just building up towards the sort of the winter conventions now. So we've got another MCM coming up in November, and which will be here before we know it. We've got a few of us are going out to New York Comic Con in October, so that's going to be fun. Trying to get ready for that. So it's like you say, the year has just gone like in a blink. So it's flown by, but it's good. And I've got a bit of writing stuff on myself, so I've got some stuff to do for StarTrek.com, and I've just started. As we speak today, actually, just started writing for a magazine called Comic Scene, which is a monthly comic sort of review magazine. So I'm doing some bits for that. So looking forward to that, something different.
Yeah. Sounds like you are a busy lad. Yeah,
I'd rather be busy than bored.
Yeah, that's very, very true. What I have got planned is that I have now, in the middle of moving my youngest son into a bigger bedroom, and then and my wife has picked up some beautiful solar system wallpaper that she's going to be putting up tomorrow, because she can wallpaper, I can't. And then his little room, I'm converted it into a podcasting media room. So
very cool.
I've got plans. It's going to take some cash, and I've got I must admit, I've got a buy me a coffee site where you can donate. It's a bit like GoFundMe sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so far I've got 20 odd pounds, so it's getting in there. It's all,
it all adds up, man. That's lots of coffee.
Yeah, it is. I'll tell you what, I need the coffee. So I've got that all planned, and hopefully I'll have that done by the end of the year.
Oh, brilliant.
So anyway, Mark, where can our listeners find you?
You can find me at, if you want to find just me on Twitter, it's Prefect, PREFECT _timing. But generally I'm on the Fantatrax Twitter feed. So you can find me over there, or at the website itself, fanthatracks.com, or you can get me on email, mark@fanthatracks.com. So there's a few different places you can find us, and always there, happy to talk and chat.
Yeah. When you go to post it on Fanthatracks, have you got one app that does everything? Or
no, I think Booker likes Instagram, so he tends to post on Instagram, and then it all filters down.
Yeah.
But then I tend to post on Twitter, so it kind of steps in. You can get an app that posts on all of them, but we haven't got to. We don't do that. I think you have to pay for it. I think so. We're too tight to do.
Oh yeah, same here. Yeah, and especially when you're trying to fork out for a new media centre. Every penny counts, only penny counts. Anyway, so it's been an absolute pleasure. It's always a pleasure speaking to you, and I'd love chatting to you. And like I say, can talk the wars, can talk the Trek. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you ever want me to come and talk Trek, as long as it's in the Prime universe, I can do.
Sounds like a plan.
I like chatting about Star Wars, but I do like to talk about Trek as well. And I'm a big thing about technology, you know, the look of the ships and stuff like that. And that's why, even though Discovery, I think, is not in the Prime universe, the Enterprise did look sweet. Oh yes, it did look beautiful. And like you said, that scene where you sort of just go, and it even had the original noise to it. Did you notice?
It did.
I thought, oh. God damn you! You're making me love it even more. Well, that's enough about Trek. Anyway, so thanks a lot, Mark, and we'll speak again soon, hopefully.
We will.
All right then, mate. You take care.
Awesome. All right, and you, mate.
See you later.
Take care. See you later. Ta-ra.
Well, that brings us to the end of the show, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as me. And remember, you can show your support in two ways: by going over to TeePublic for your official Radio Free Endor t-shirt, and you can buy me a coffee at www.buymeacoffee.com/Radio Free Endor, all one word. And if you want to reach out to us, you can. On iTunes is the best way to hear us. If you want to reach out to us, you can. iTunes is the best way to hear us, so subscribe, and while you're there, rate us and leave us with a 5-star review. On social media, you can find us on Facebook, Radio Free Endor, and you can follow us on Twitter at Radio Free Endor, and by email, radiofreeendor@gmail.com. And you can find me at Jamie_R_Burns. So goodbye from us here at the old AT-AT on Endor, and I'll see you very soon. Goodbye.
Can you imagine what it's like to be an ace pilot?
Don't think about it.
This is your chance to make that true.
I've got a mission for you.
Yes!
Blend in, find out who's loyal to the good guys and who isn't.
What was that?
What was what?
The throwing and the falling. Over there.
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
You can work on my team.
Get ready to be impressed.
But when it comes to your mission as a spy, I don't want anything to do with it.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
Hey, is anyone listening to Radio Free Endor?
I just wanted to wish my competition good luck.
This is fine. I'm fine.
Just be careful and don't explode.
I'll do my best.
This should be good.
Here we go. Star Wars Resistance in all series.
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.